Okay, task 1 says that students at a college are given several tests during their course. A teacher wants to write object-oriented software to process data about the tests. For each test, the following are to be stored. One or more questions are going to be stored. So one or more questions up to a maximum of 10 questions. So this is the maximum number of questions, and you can have one or more questions in the test, right? Okay. The maximum number of marks that are going to be the maximum number of marks for the test, and then the level of the test. Instantly you can think of these as attributes. So these are the different things that you would want to store about a test, right? So you can think of these attributes for a test class, right? And now for each question that is going to be stored in the test, the following are to be stored: the question text, the answer of the question, the maximum number of marks of the question, and the topic of the question. So for a question, you are going to save the following attributes. So these are once again, different attributes that you can save about a question, right? So these attributes were the attributes for a test, right? And these attributes are attributes for a question. And remember this: a test has questions. A test has questions. It can have up to a maximum of 10 questions. So each test cannot be complete if it does not have questions. So a test has questions. That's a relationship here, right? As you can see here, he's shown us a relationship, right, with the help of a diagram. This is our test class, and we can see all the attributes in the test class. These are all the attributes of the test class, right? These are all the attributes of the test class, and these are all and these are the different methods that he's given us, right, in the diagram. There is the design test method, there is the print test method, there is the print answers method, right? So all of these methods are part of the test class. Okay, and let's take a look at the question class. In the question class, these are the attributes, right? So these are the attributes, and these are the different methods that we have to write. Remember, I said attributes can also be called as properties, right? These can also be called as properties. And what we can see here in the attributes for the test class, importantly, that one of the attributes is of the data type question. So this is the data type, right? This is the data type that we have, and we can see clearly that this data type is question, which is a user defined class, right? So this class has an array, as we can see that this is an array, right? This class test has an array. In that array, all the objects that are going to be stored are going to be of this question class. So test class has an array in which many questions can be stored. Okay, and that's the relationship that is being shown here. In this diagram, we can see that this test class has many, can have one to many questions. It can at least have one question, right? So a test class can at least have one question, or it can have one to many questions, right? And that is the relationship that's being shown here, right? And if we go back up and take a look at the statement here, a test can contain one question or more than one question, and that is exactly what this diagram is saying, that one test can have one or more than one questions, right? The star is indicating more than one questions, right? So that's the relationship being shown here. So this diagram that you see here is called a class diagram. This is called a class diagram, and it is showing the relationship between the test class and the question class, and this relationship is basically a containment relationship, which basically says that a test class contains an object of the question class. The test class contains an object of the question class. Meaning what? Meaning this test class cannot be complete if it does not have any questions inside. So it is basically dependent on this class. If this class is not there, then the test cannot be complete. So we must have a questions class, right? And then this questions class must be a part of the test class. So there is a dependency here. This test cannot be complete if we don't have questions, right? And for each question there are so many things that we want to store, right? So these are the attributes that we want to store about each question. Okay, I hope we've understood this task 1.1 clearly. We understand what this diagram is all about. Okay, so these are the conclusions that we've drawn from the class diagram. The class diagram shows that the test class has an object of question class, right? So it has an object of the questions class. The test class has at least one or more than one questions. Okay, which basically means what? Which means when we create an instance of the test class, meaning something like this, then we are going to do dim my test as test is equal to new test, right? When we're going to call the constructor, and this object is going to be created. This object is an object of the test class. So this would be a test which would have several questions inside of it, meaning that when this myTest object is created, inside of this one myTest object we will have several objects of the question class. Inside of this myTest object we will have several objects of the myQuestion class. So we're going to have several objects of this questions class inside of this one object. Okay, and finally a test class object cannot exist without a question class object, which basically means there is a dependency. So